Jordan, you can just minimize that or whatever.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone got that? So structure, let's say we're going to do a structure for an employee. We're going to have a program that uses employees. We're going to have a program that uses, let's say, like a store. It's going to use something like inventory. It's going to use something like weapons. Anything that is more complex than our primitive variables, you may want to consider using a structure if you're going to use more than one of them. And so for any object that is going to be in a program, you can normally wrap it up in a structure. To do that, we're going to write struct, and then you call your structure whatever the object is you're going to represent. So if we're going to do employee, and you get an open brace and a closing brace, and you get a semicolon on the end of it. And then I can say, what makes up an employee? Let's say the employee has an ID number. Well, an ID number is probably an integer, so I will just say he needs an ID. He's going to have a pay rate. He's going to work a certain number of hours. There may be other things in there. He may have an address. He may have a number of dependents. We may have a job title, things like that. If we want to include string up here, we can throw some other stuff in there. Address, title. I don't know, whatever our program needs. If we're only doing payroll, we can get away with rate and hours. And maybe some things like, gross pay, net pay, tax, stuff like that, other float values. Well, whatever it is, whatever makes up this employee, whatever we need in this program, we're going to put it inside this structure here. And the structure is like a blueprint. Anybody ever play with Legos? You open the box of Legos, and inside there's it shows how many pieces you should have and what pieces you should have on the instructions. And it is not the actual finished product, it is just a blueprint for what you're going to build. And that is what a structure is. This code doesn't do anything as it stands. It's just how an employee will look, what represents an employee. So if I run this program, I'll get absolutely nothing. But we do have an employee now, and so in main we can create employees like we would any other variable. So if I wanted to create an integer, I type int and I give it a name. If I want to create an employee, I type employee, give it a name. Or you can call it something more general like employee with a lowercase e. Or E1. Alright, at this point, this code up above is executed, and an employee is created with all of these variables inside of it. And the cool thing about doing it this way is now I can make lots of employees, and I don't have to give them all a separate ID and a separate rate and all this stuff. It's already done right there. It's all wrapped up. So then how do I get to those things? What if I want to set employee 1's ID number or his pay rate? How would I do that? We're going to use a dot operator. So you type E1 or whatever you named your employee, and then you push dot, and IntelliSense will show you all of the variables that are available for this guy. If I want to set his ID number, I'm just going to type ID, and I can set that like I would any other integer. So let's just say this is employee 0 or 100. There, that sets the first employee's ID. I can set his pay rate. I can set the address. Anything that's in the structure you can set using the dot operator, and you can see out that information or do math with that information just like you would any other variable. What do you expect to see here? Should be a 100, right? ID number 100. I lost it. There we go. Does that make sense? Simple enough. Let's do another one. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's do a game weapon. So I'm going to change the name of my structure to whatever the object is I want to represent. We don't have employees anymore, so all this code is bad. Computer is really lagging. There we go. So weapon might have a name. Weapon might have what else? Anybody play games with weapon? Attack values, damage values. Maybe that's what? Durability. Okay, it might have ammo. Ammo capacity, things like that. Whatever makes up a weapon, we can put it in here. In more advanced code, if we were going beyond the console, we would want images in here. We'd probably want a sound. If it's a gun, we would definitely want a sound, or something like that. It might have a range. It may have a weight. It may have a value, price tag, or something like that. So whatever makes up a weapon, that's what you put in here. And you create the weapon the same way. Weapon, I'll call it weapon. Or we could call it boomerang. I don't know if I spelled that right. We could set any of the values using the dot operator. We type the name of the object, the dot operator, and then say whatever variable we want to set, or see out, or do math with, or whatever you would do with a regular variable, you can do it with structure variables. Any questions so far?
There's no information for the flowchart part of the exam.
Oh, you use the practice one?
Use the practice one?
Yeah.
Do it on the Word document like we have been?
Yes. We can also nest our structures. Let's say we have a weapon, so maybe we want a hero, and he also has, some variables that make up a hero for our game, but he can also have a weapon, so we can nest one structure inside of another. I won't fill it out too much, but you get the idea. It has to be in order, so if weapon comes first, it's okay to put that in a hero, but I cannot put a hero in a weapon. Not only does it not make sense in most cases, this just will not compile because hero is written after weapon. If I try to run this, I should get an error. Ah, that won't work. If I get this out of here, it should be fine. So the order is important. Make sure it flows from top to bottom. Okay, so I want to create a hero. I can do that. Now, what if I want to set the damage on his weapon? How would I do that? Hero dot W1 damage. There we go. So you can chain these structures together. You can nest them as deep as you want. We may have another structure for, let's say, location, and we could put the hero in a location, and then we could channel through location, access the hero, access his weapon, and you just keep going as deep as you want using the dot operator. But any program that has objects in it, you want to use structures, and later on we'll switch to classes, but classes are a lot like structures. So you can roll with this idea for now. Does that make sense? Pretty simple. Okay. Another thing covered in this chapter is enums. And enum is just a way of associating a word with a number. Let's say we did a switch statement, right? Let's do this. We have cout start options 3 load quit. I forgot my backslash in. Okay, I've got a little game menu going here. And so I could run a switch. Let's say I do int choice cn choice, and I want to run a loop with the switch statement to handle their input. This should probably be up here. Maybe, I don't know. So let's run a switch. Run a switch on choice. And I would create cases for each one of the menu options up here. Case 1. Break. Case 2. Break. Case 3. What was case 3? Don't remember. Oh, it was load. But instead of doing all this and trying to remember which is which, you can create something called an enum. And it will just, it's going to make correlations between words and numbers. And so we can do this. We can do a start. Normally, enums are all capitalized. So start, options, load, and quit. Now down here in my switch statement, instead of trying to remember which number correlates with which whatever I put up there, I can just type those things. Now it's kind of trivial in this case because I can see my menu, but if this menu was really long and there was a lot of code in between it, it just becomes a lot easier to come back and look at it like this. Okay, and then when I'm looking at my switch statement, I know what I'm writing right here. This is for the start option. I know this is for my options option. I know that load is for load and so on. The only drawback is I started these at 1, and enums I actually start at 0. And if you mouse over this, it will show you in the little tooltip, start equals 0. Options equals 1. So some people, what's that?
You can change it if you put start equals 1. It'll then do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I'm going to let you teach class. Yeah, you can do that. Start will be 1, and then options will be 2, and so on. And then, if you don't remember this, you can just throw some dummy variable in here, right? Now starts 1. But yeah, that would be more professional just to say that, you know, we're starting at 1 here. So that's an enum. It is only there as a convenience to the programmer, so that when I come down here and look at this switch statement and I'm writing code for start or options or whatever, I don't have to remember which number was which option. It's just a convenience to me. The compiler obviously doesn't care. It sees what you see in the tooltip when you mouse over it. It sees that as a 3. Oh, and you can give your enum a name if you want to, like state. But that's what an enum is. A lot of people don't use enums, but at least you've seen it. Some languages don't support them, but there it is.